Welcome to Highline Excel class number 21. Hey, if you want to download this workbook and follow along, click on my YouTube channel, then click on my college website link and you can download the workbook. Week 4, Business 214. Hey, if you're enrolled in the class, just go to our Week 4 website. Hey, conditional formatting. We're going to look at 12 different examples. Oh, conditional formatting is so great. It'll highlight certain things for us with some sort of formatting. We're going to look at 1, 2, 3 conditional formatting tricks that only work in 2007. All the remaining ones will work in any version. Data bars is the first one. We have some values here. Here's the biggest one. I want a big bar of blue to indicate that this is the biggest one. And then the smallest one, I want a little bar. So you highlight the range. And in 2007, you go to the Home Ribbon Styles Conditional Formatting. There it is, data bars. And you can select the color. I'm going to select this blue. And just like that, I have the values randomized here. So if you hit the F9 key, you can see that it moves around and will change size depending on the value in the cell. How about icons? Totally silly. I never use them. But some people like them. And they kind of look cool. But not for my spreadsheet. Icon sets. You can kind of see off to the side here. There's a bunch of different ones. If I scrunch this up here, you'll be able to see on the screen icons. So there it is. So you can see those. There's some flags, some of those, all sorts of different ones. I'm going to select that one right there. And so just like that, if I hit the F9 key, and both of these are all relative, right? So you can tell that relative to the rest, that one's big. Relative to the rest, that one is a big one, the top third. Relative to the rest, that red X means pretty small. Now, with 2007, we have an option for 1 standard deviation above. So we're going to highlight this whole column. Go to the Styles Conditional Formatting. We actually want to go all the way down to the bottom to Manage or New Rule. New Rule. And here they are. And you can select whichever one you want here. And then you can actually change some of the values. So you could change the lowest. This is for cells based on their value. You can have a 2-color scale, a 3-color scale, data bars, icon sets. But you can actually have a little bit more control over what color and what type you want. Lowest value, number, percent, formula. Wow, all sorts of amazing things. So there's a couple different options. I want to look at this one right here. And right here, you just select, instead of above or below average, you can say equal 1 standard deviation above, or any one of these ones here. So I'm going to select that one, select a color, fill, patterns in earlier versions, font, and then click OK. So that's just a built-in. There's a lot of built-in formulas. I'm going to click OK here. And sure enough, as I hit F9, it changes that one. Now, the rest of these I'm going to show you with true-false formulas. There's lots of built-in things, and you can just self-explanatory look through this and try them. The downside, the upside is that they added a lot of things that are easy for people that don't know how to do true-false formulas. The downside is there's only so many of them. So a lot of the situations you run into, like min-max or highlighting a row or the largest 2, how in the world do you do that? There's not a built-in way. So that's where the true-false formulas come in. So we're going to see how to do that. We're going to do a bunch of examples for true-false formulas. The keyboard shortcut that works in both versions, by the way, this is 2007. In earlier versions, you find conditional formatting in the Format menu. And the keyboard shortcut that works in both versions, Alt-O-D. Alt-O-D. And here it is. You can say New Rule. And I'm going to come down here to Formula. In earlier versions, 2003, the dialog box opens up. And in the first text box, you select Formula Is. But here it is. We have a column of numbers. And we want each one of the cells to look at whatever the minimum is and ask the question, am I the minimum? If I am the minimum, which means whichever cell, then I want to add a particular color. So here it is, equals. And I'm going to have to click on this cell. Notice it comes locked at first, so you have to hit your F4 key to unlock it. relative cell reference because this true-false formula is being stored in memory. It will actually in memory go here, 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 here. So it's as if we're creating the formula here and copying it down. So then we ask, is that relative cell reference equal to the minimum? And then you highlight the whole range and lock that because each cell needs to ask the question, am I the minimum of that whole locked range? All right, and then I click Format. I'm going to select that one. By the way, this is new right here in 2007. It's a great feature that wasn't in earlier version. So I click OK. Now watch this. Before you do that, I got to show you, copy this. Let's copy that. Click OK. Click OK. And as I hit F9, you can see that the minimum is highlighted. Now watch this. Here's how you learn how to do formulas. Remember that true-false formula? It's stored in memory, but it's as if it's copied there and down. So I'm going to come over here, Control-V. See that formula? Oh, it's looking there at the whole range, true-false formula. Control-Enter, and then I'm going to click and drag it down. You can see there's a true, and as I hit F9, the true switches. So that is how it's actually working in memory. Let's do the next one. We'll say the max. Alt-O-D. New rule. Click here, and I'm going to Control-V. Oh, no, we can't do that. We got to do a new rule. This one right here, F4, 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 equals the max of this. And make sure it's locked, close parentheses, and then I'll apply a format. I'm going to say yellow. Click OK, click OK, click OK. So now as I hit F9, you can see that it changes.
Hey, we just looked at max, but what about large? What if we want the maximum value highlighted and also the second largest? Well, let's look at the max function equals max, which we just did. Highlight this whole range here and enter. That gives us the max. So 488 is the max. But what if we do large, large? If we say large of this whole, but the advantage of large is you can say comma 1 for max, or 2 for second biggest, or 3 for third biggest. So now you can see that the large and the max do exactly the same thing. But now let's try a large 2. That'll give us the second largest. I'm going to highlight that, hit the F4 key to lock it, and then comma 2, close parentheses. So that formula will give us the second largest. Now, if we had conditional formatting, we said, hey, look at each individual cell and ask the question, is this cell greater than or equal to the second largest? That would give us a true for this one, which is larger, and this one, which is equal. So that is the formula we would use. Now, actually, this formula we're going to use for conditional formatting came from Verifaction at YouTube. And also, one of my students posted this question to the Mr. Excel message board. I'm going to actually just highlight this right here and scoop it out. Control-C, escape. Highlight the range, go up to conditional formatting, new rule, formula, and I'm going to click on this cell right here, and I'm going to make it relative, F4, 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 because each one of these cells needs to be asked the question, are you greater than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and then I'm going to Control-V, large number 2. And I'll add some sort of formatting here. Click OK. And so there's our formula and our setup. Click OK. Click OK. Now if I hit the F9 key, we can see that we get exactly what we want. Now let's go on. We have a few more excellent.
Let's go down here. Now I want to highlight a row. Very important trick. So right now I want all of the times that are before noon. So I'm going to highlight this whole range. And by the way, we could do our same little trick if we're not quite sure how to do a true-false formula. I'm actually going to click right here, and I'm going to say equals is this right here. That is the value we're checking. Now, this is going to be a true-false in memory. We want to highlight the whole row here. We need to lock this. So I'm going to hit the F4 1, 2, 3 times, so it's locked on the row. That way, when it goes down to the locked on the column there, so when it goes down to the next row, it can move and look at the next time. But when it copies across this way, it's locked on the column. I'm going to say, is that less than this one? And that one I need locked in all directions. I'm going to hit the F4, Control-Enter, and watch this. I copy it over 1, 2, and then I can copy it down, just as we did over there just a moment ago, to prove to ourselves that this thing in memory will work. And sure enough, we get a bunch of trues and falses. I'm going to click here, Control C, including the equal sign, escape. Come over here, highlight the whole range. Now, the active cell right there is the one. So when you're highlighting and doing conditional formatting, you always have to realize where the active cell is. If you hit enter or had a different active cell, you'd have to build the formula from that cell's point of view. See, remember we copied that one. That's the one we're going to paste here because that's the one that will go into that cell right there. And since it's the active cell, we have to do that. Alt-O-D, new. Oops, I'm going to click right here, Control V. Now I'm going to format it, and I want to format the whole row. I'm just going to select that one right there. Click OK, click OK, click OK. And sure enough, just like that, and if we hit our F9 key, I have that some randomizing formulas there. We can see it gets all of the times that are less than 12. And by the way, what happens if we put 2:00 space PM? Oh, then it's all the ones including before 2 p.m. And notice we did not include an equal sign right there, so it really is before. If it's exactly 2, it will not add the formatting. All right, let's do a column right here. And this one I want, I have a little drop down. I want to be able to change this and have that column highlighted. So I'm going to highlight this whole range. Remember, there's the active cell, right? So we have to build the formula from that point of view. Alt-O-D, new. I'm going to click right there, click right there. Formula is in earlier versions. That's how you do this. Now we have to build a formula that, again, this is locking a column. So watch this. I'm going to click here because that is where the words are. Notice we don't even have that range highlighted. We're actually building a formula right here. And this, for this cell, we're saying, hey, whatever's there, is that equal to this? But watch this. We need to lock this when we go down, so I'm going to hit the F4 key. Lock going down because we need to ask all the cells in this column, is the header time? But when we move over this way, we need to go to weight. And so is that equal to? And I'm going to click right there on the size and then add a formatting. I'll add some this green right here. Click OK, click OK, click OK. So right now we got that. And when we change this right here, by the way, that's data validation drop-down list. We did that earlier. So there we can highlight a column. Now, up here we did this whole column based on a separate cell. But let's just visit that idea. You can build any formula, a true-false formula, even if the cell itself doesn't have the criteria in it. So watch this. We want to highlight anything in this column, only one cell, if the time is before noon. So watch this. Equals, Alt-O-D, new rule, click right here. And the question is, for this active cell, hey, is this one 2 cells to my left? Is that less than this one locked? So that's how we'll build our formula. And we'll click right there. And we need to have this a relative cell reference. Remember, in memory, it's copying it down here. So it's as if there's a true-false formula. And is that less than this 12 noon time? So this will be a formula for an individual cell. I'm going to click yellow. Notice that that formula right there is not, we never even ask the criteria, neither one of them, either the one 2 cells to my left or the one up over here, is actually in that cell. But we're totally allowed to do that. Click OK. And sure enough, there it is.
All right, we have one last exciting conditional formatting table down here. Now we've just done highlight the row and column, but now I want to put it all together in one table. And not only that, I want to highlight, say, this column, this one right here, and also this row right here, so that so we have colors in both directions, but then we want the intersection to have a third color. Now this is just a little binomial distribution table, and we're going to have exact matches. So we have our inputs here, number of successes, probability for success. This is not a statistics class, so you don't need to worry about this. But we can look at it, the conditional formatting aspect. If this says 2, I want this row highlighted. If this says 0.5, I want this column and then the intersection. All right, let's go ahead and highlight the table and the active cell. It's always important to be aware of where that is. And then I'm going to open up conditional formatting, use a formula, and let's go ahead and do our, actually I'm going to click escape. I'm going to change this to 0.2 and 1 just so I can fit the dialog box better. So now we want this row here and this column here and then the intersection right there. Alt-O-D is the keyboard shortcut. New rule, formula. Now, we'll start with the row first. The active cell is right there. So I always need to look at the row header. So I'm going to click there, and we need it locked because when we, here's the formula, copied this way in memory, copied this way. So it always needs to be looking at that row header. So I'll lock it in front of the column reference, but not the row, because when a formula comes down here, it needs to be looking at the 1, the new row header. And that's going to equal this one right here. I'm actually going to copy this because we'll use it later. Now let's format this one red. And I'm going to add some font because red value-wise is quite dark. So I added a white font. Click OK, click OK. So we see we got that. Now let's do this one. Alt-O-D, new rule. And this one will be, here's the active cell, but now we need to be looking at the column header. So from the active cell point of view, I'm going to click there. Lock it going down. $sign in front of the number reference, the row reference, so we're lock going down. But when we move the formula over, now it'll be looking at the new probability, and that's got to be equal to that one there, locked in all directions. How about some yellow for this one? No font, the fill will be just fine. Click OK, click OK. Click OK. So we got that working. Now the intersection. Hey, intersection's easy. We have a formula for this way and this way. If we put both of those true-false formulas inside of an AND function, then the only cell where that will come out true is that one right there. With the active cell still right there, Alt-O-D, new rule, formula equals AND. And then I'm going to Control V. I still have that loaded in. That is the row one, but we have to build the column one. So here's the active cell. From that point of view, I need to click there, lock it going down, hit the F4 key once. That probability will be equal to this probability right here, locked in all directions. Close parentheses for the AND. And since red and yellow make orange, we'll select that. Click OK, click OK. And sure enough, now we have it. Now if we change this to 2, oh, that is so excellent. And then this to 5, then we can see we got just what we wanted. All right, that's some big fun with conditional formatting. We'll see you next video.